Thanks, Jarek. Congratulations to our volleyball team on getting another one at Drake. And then yesterday, I think most of us probably saw that performance yesterday by our women's basketball team. What a great afternoon. We got a really good. We've had some good teams. Tanya's had some good teams and some teams with some depth and good players, and they've always done a great job coaching them. But I tell you what, watching them yesterday, that's a heck of a basketball team. So they're going to have. It looks like they're going to have a lot of fun this winter, which is great. That's a tremendous group of young ladies there. We've got Tuesday night, Wednesday night with home games, and looking forward to getting back out there. Our guys have done a good job. Looking at our games. Saturday afternoon and yesterday, and watching and going through some stuff. We've had some great stretches. The end of the first half against Northern Colorado played really well to get some separation. The start of the second half, guys did a great job of throwing it into Austin and getting a couple baskets, then making a couple other plays, and all of a sudden we're in a great spot, up 16 against a good basketball team, and we've shown that. First half against Northern Illinois, in some stretches in the other games as well, the two other ones that I didn't mention. So we've had long stretches of good play. We've had some shorter stretches of good play. Our stretches where we haven't played as well, they haven't been as long. And usually in those stretches, guys, it's been a little bit of decision making and a little bit of passing. That's hurt us, and that's led to putting pressure on our defense, whether that's runouts, not having our defense set, or just multiple possessions, for a short stretch, maybe 8 to 10 possessions where they're able to pick up a little momentum, and it puts a lot of heat on your defense. So some things that much more encouraged by the way our guys have played and the longer stretches of good play. And then we just got to tighten up some things, when we get into some of those spots with our passing and with some decisions and take a little bit of heat off our defense. So tomorrow night with Tennessee Martin, they've got 5 starters that are averaging double figures. They're going to play man-to-man. They're going to play some 2-3 zone. They're going to press a little bit in the full court. Their starting center's got 18 offensive rebounds in 4 games. He's been to the free throw line 26 times. He's averaging right about 20 points and getting 7 or 8 rebounds a game, but very active, very good player at that center position. And their starting backcourt, both those guys make threes. They both can drive it. They can score in a number of different ways. The other 2 starters very active, and that's in watching their team, they've got a number of guys that make threes. They've got a number of guys that can drive it, and then they've got their starting center is really active, and he's really good inside. As I talked about with those numbers that he's getting right now. So, looking forward to getting to practice today. With that, I'd take your questions.
When it comes to the passing and the decision-making, how much of that can be solved in practice versus just you got to go out there and get the live reps?
Yeah, I think it's more the game action and the live reps. Continuing to get that experience, and for AJ, for Spencer, for Isaiah, for Taiwan, for Antoine, who hasn't played as much, of course this year. For the guys who are handling the ball a little bit more, and now are responsible for getting that basketball inside to Austin. That's new to us this year. We didn't spend time last year throwing that ball to the block to Luke or to Justin. Their role was different than what Austin's is, and so we're 4 games into having the big fella down there, and so the game experience is the best way to get better at that. So in terms of some of those, in the second half, I thought the guys did a great job. We knew what we wanted to do on 4 or 5 possessions, and we happened to get it deflected or turn it over when we were working to get it back into him to get him 4 or 5 more touches. So the guys have done a great job in terms of understanding it, in terms of knowing what we've got down there in Austin and working to get him touches. So now it's a matter of, and you can work on it in practice, and you can get a little bit better in practice at it, which you need to, right? Watch it on film, get better at it on the practice floor. But that there's nothing like that game experience. And in that area, and as we clean that up and get more efficient in that area with Austin down there and with, just a couple other little things with our decision-making, with our passing, the game just gets, the possessions get a little bit easier, or those stretches just get a little bit smoother.
What with AJ, the difference between him and some of those guys that are like 20-point a game guys is he just doesn't get to the free throw line that often. Do you feel you need to get him downhill more and get him to the line a little more often now?
Yeah, and to add on to your question, Nick, he's going to shoot 90% from the free throw line, right? So it's a tremendous option, tremendous weapon for us, for our offense, when he does go to that free throw line. And it's a great question. And I didn't mention it when I was talking about some of the things I've thought about with the team, but that is one of them as well, and that I had jotted down Saturday afternoon as I was going through some stuff, finding ways for him to get himself to that free throw line, to pick up. Can you get there 6 times? Can you get there 8 times? He's going to make 5 of 6. He's going to make 7 of 8, or he's going to make all of them. So some of it getting downhill, some of it with the pace you're playing at, some of it with using a shot fake. Like there's a lot of parts to that for him. And people are going to guard him in a way that opens up some opportunities to get to the free throw line. By him, again, watching film and working on some things in his individual workouts, working on some things in the practice floor. And those would be, can you get guys as they're running at you using a shot fake? When you get downhill and get to the paint, using a shot fake and seeing if you can get a guy to land on top of you, get yourself to the free throw line. So that's an area where we feel like we can pick up, get him to the free throw line and pick up some points, pick up some possessions. Yeah.
What's kind of your approach to this week with the back-to-back? Kind of help simulate, Cancun or some of these tournaments where you have closely compressed game times?
Yeah, we were going to play Tuesday, Thursday when we were setting this up. With the high school football playoffs, once you get to Thursday and those games start going over in the Dome, playing at the same time isn't good for anybody. And so we asked Cornell if they could. They've got a Tuesday night game as well, but asked them if they'd be willing to come up on Wednesday and play it with no day in between. And glad that they were able to make that work. And then thinking about next week when we are going to play Tuesday, Wednesday. So I think playing back to back would be good for us.
Saturday's game, you took half as many three-point shots of any other team this year. Was that because of the way Northern Colorado was playing? Is that what
Yeah.
they took away? Was that the game plan?
Yeah, that's one of the way that Northern Colorado defends. Gary, they do that most nights to everybody they play. That's the way that they're going to stretch out and take away catches on the three-point line, and then in turn limits your number of opportunities to get catch and shoot threes. And that's the way that they've played. That's the way he's coached and played over the years. So we knew that there was going to be a lot of 2-on-2 in the middle of the floor, and we've seen that with some teams last year where the ball screen's going to get defended with the guy guarding the ball handler, the guy guarding the screener, and the other guy's going to flex out and take away those catches. And that's so that is something we knew going in.
Not that anybody wasn't expecting it, but Spencer Haldeman stepped right into the starting lineup and he's played well. And
Wow.
perhaps Saturday's game was one of his most complete ever as a Panther.
I think his best game as a Panther was Saturday. I would agree. He was terrific. His pace, guys. It's the pace he played with at, the strength that he played with, continuing to stay on that dribble. Just everything about him. You could feel the confidence, right? I mean, everything about him was done with a very high level of confidence. And I'll go back all the way to the summer. He practiced at a high level. He played very well. He shot it great over in Italy. It's been going that way. Now, he hasn't been, and he wasn't as sharp in the first three as what he had practiced and what he had done this summer. What we saw on Saturday was a lot of what we saw all summer, and what we saw in Italy and what we saw in a lot of the practices. We saw that on Saturday, and it's I probably. Well, that's the wrong way to say it. I don't expect too much of our players. Right? I expect a lot of our players, and he puts in a lot of time, and so I naturally expect that every time he steps out there, he's going to be really close to perfect, and that isn't something that we ask of our players, and we talk about that we're not, being perfect isn't part of this. We talk a lot about how hard can we make possessions for the other team. How many times in a row can we have good possessions? But you get a guy like Spencer who's got he's a tough kid. He puts in a lot of time. So that expectation, from my standpoint, is that he's going to play pretty close to perfect every time he goes out there, and he has some of that same expectation for himself. So what we saw on Saturday, I think, is more of what we're going to see going forward.
You mentioned, Coach, for you, Martin, the numbers of Quentin Dove, your starting center,
No.
is putting up 20.5 points a game. What challenges, with the success that your team, Martin, has with them, what challenges defensively does that bring you tomorrow night? And then the second part of my question, on Saturday, you ran with 6 guys the majority of the game. With the back-to-back games this week, and then also next week, as it relates to tomorrow's game and Wednesday's game, are those a couple of games where you look to go back to the 8-9 deep that you have ran most of the year?
Yeah, I'll answer the second part first, Josh. Northern Colorado offensively is really sharp. As we saw, they've got a lot of stuff that they run in the half court, and they run it really well. And that's a tough game for freshmen, and we knew that going in as well. And I was hoping to find a couple opportunities to get those guys in there and get them some minutes on Saturday. But that's a hard team to play against with the roster and then the way in which they run their stuff. So it got more limited than what we would have liked on Saturday. And so yeah, our plan going into each game is to work to get those guys on the bench. Now, Ty's in a different category. I've talked about Ty a little bit, and he's a sixth starter, as I said, last week. So he's going to play. He's going to play his 25 minutes, give or take. And then those 3 freshmen, we've just got to see how games are going. But they do need, back to Cole's question earlier, where do you learn more, right? You learn more playing. And those 3 guys need to get some game reps, and I understand that. Dealing with 22, their center, he's a hard guy to cover with one guy. And he's active. He's quick. It's going to be a tough cover for Fife because 22 will move out to the three-point line. He'll shoot a three-point shot. He'll drive it from the three-point line. He'll face up at 15 feet, and he's going to drive it from there. So that, Austin's going to have to be able to cover a little bit more away from the basket than what he typically may. And then also with their starting backcourt, those guys are really good using a ball screen, which brings Austin out to cover that as well. And then you've got to deal with 22 rolling to the basket or popping to the three-point line. So he's got a lot of versatility. It's going to be a hard cover. Anybody else? Thanks.